Shepherd's pie is one of the most comforting meals, but 99% of the time you have it, it's made incorrectly. So let's fix it. Today we're making a shepherd's pie. It's hands down one of the most underrated foods, and I'm gonna be showing you how to achieve maximum flavor when you make it yourself. I'm gonna be showing you how to make an amazing buttery rosemary garlic mashed potatoes, as well as how to make the beefiest filling known to man. And if you stick around until the end, I'll show you an extra tip that Gordon Ramsay uses to add an extra bit of texture and visual appeal. But first, who am I? Hey! My name is Xander Mason and I love to cook. It's something I've been doing for years now and I want to inspire you to try out my recipes. Now without further delay, let's get to cooking. So first things first, let's make our butter rosemary mashed potatoes. You'll need 2.5 pounds worth of peeled russet potatoes, which is roughly 4 potatoes. We're using russets because they're extremely easy to work with and you can find them at any grocery store. Grab yourself a peeler and as an added tip, lay down a paper towel onto your cutting board. You're going to next peel your potatoes onto that paper towel, and then when you're done at the end, it makes cleaning up the mess super easy. Next, we're going to take our knife and roughly dice our potatoes. Try your best to keep the pieces roughly the same size, but don't stress too much. From there, place them in a pot filled with water and give them a hearty pinch of salt. Trust me, it won't be salty. Most of the salt barely gets in the potato. Place your pot on a burner and set it to high heat, letting your potatoes boil until they can be easily pierced with a fork. About 8 to 10 minutes, but keep your eye on it. While that heats up, we're gonna next work on our flavor liquid. In a small saucepan, you'll throw in 2 sticks of butter. Don't come at me, this is supposed to be a special occasion meal. You'll also throw in 150 grams of heavy cream, which is about 3/5 of a cup. Sorry for that weird conversion. Give it a pinch of salt and throw in 4 cloves of garlic as well as 3 sprigs of rosemary. Now put it on medium heat, and once the butter is melted and a little bit of steam starts to come out, allow it to steep for 10 minutes. Do not boil it. We'll check back on our potatoes, and as you can see, they are easily pierced with a fork or a toothpick. Now I'm gonna pour them out into a strainer, and guess who forgot to press record when doing that? That dum-dum. Either way, once you have strained your potatoes, we're gonna grab a potato ricer, which is by no means needed, but it does make your potatoes much smoother. I'll load my potatoes into the ricer and give it a squeeze to watch as the velvety smooth potatoes are pushed out from the bottom. Again, this is not needed. You could just use any regular potato masher. It just won't be as smooth, but that's okay. Once all the potatoes have been riced, we'll grab our steeping flavor liquid, and something magical happened right here when I was tasting it off camera. Ooh! Oh my God! Oh, that's great. That's phenomenal. It's buttery, tastes like rosemary and garlic. Oh! Did we just freaking crush it? Abso-freaking-lutely. Now we're gonna strain all the solids out and we're gonna pour the whole mixture into our potatoes, giving it a mixing. We'll next grate 125 grams of Gruyere cheese, which is about a little less than one of these packets. Throw your cheese into the bowl, giving it a thorough mixing as well as an additional pinch of salt. Now we're gonna give this sucker a tasting before we add our last ingredient. Oh my God. Super buttery, garlicky, rosemary, a lot of flavor in there. I just feel like it's mellowing out my body. It's like putting me to sleep with every little bite. But it's keeping me awake because it tastes too good. I can't not get another bite. To finish this up, we're gonna throw in 3 egg yolks. They'll add some more rounded flavors when we bake our shepherd's pie later, and it's important to note that once the raw eggs are in, you should not be tasting it because there's now raw eggs inside our potatoes. But either way, our mashed potatoes are done and it's now time to move on to our pie filling. But before we can go to our pie filling, I need you guys to help me out. You see this adorable, cute dog? Well, what if I told you he's in danger and he's about to fall into an ocean filled with sharks? But you can save them. All you gotta do is just drop a like on this video. It takes 1 second to save the dog's life, and it helps out my channel, so I appreciate it. Back to the cooking, we're first gonna do all of our cutting work. Grab yourself some yellow onions and chop 300 grams worth, which is about a little less than 3 small onions. I'm going for a medium rough chop here. It doesn't have to be crazy fine, just make it easy on yourself. Once I'm done, I'll throw them into a bowl and I'll grab myself some celery. I'm gonna need 200 grams worth, which is about 2 stems. Once again, give it a rough medium dice and throw them into the same bowl once you're done. Next, we're gonna grab 250 grams worth of carrots, which is about 5. Take your time with this because carrots can be a little tricky given their curved nature, but once you're done giving it a medium chop, throw them into the bowl as well. Now I'm gonna slice 30 grams worth of garlic, which is anywhere between 8 to 12 cloves depending their size. Don't bother mincing them unless you want to. I just gave them a nice little quick slice. Once you're done, you guessed it, throw it into that same bowl as well. Now we only have 2 more things to chop, so just bear with me. We're next gonna grab 6 grams of rosemary and give it a fine mincing. This is about 2 teaspoons worth, and we're going to set them aside in a separate bowl. And now lastly, you're gonna chop 15 grams worth of Italian parsley, which is about 1 tablespoon. Run your knife through it until you get fairly small bits, and now we're done with our chopping. Let's get to work on our beef. I have about 3 pounds worth of lean ground beef, and in order to save some time, we're gonna use the Brian Lagerstrom method, which is to squish down our meat evenly on a sheet tray and then load it onto the top rack of our oven, setting it to broil. Now this will not only save you a ton of time, but it'll also do a better job at browning and charring the meat, which will develop more flavors. While that cooks in the oven, I'm gonna grab a large pot, setting it to medium-high heat. Give it a generous squeeze of olive oil and then throw in all of our veggies to saute. I'll also give it a pinch of salt and continue to saute for about only 2 to 3 minutes. You want your veggies to still have a bite to them and not be too mushy. Now our beef has been broiling for 10 to 12 minutes, and as you can see, it's fully cooked and nicely caramelized. I'll also mention that I had to rotate it at the halfway point to get even browning, and one quick safety tip. After the halfway mark, you should set 1-minute alarms to remind you to keep checking on it. It cooks really fast and things could burn really quickly when you're using the broiler, so make sure to check on it constantly. Now I'm gonna move all of my beef and its juices into my pot, and make sure you spill a lot of it. That step's actually very important. Once in the pot, I'll set our heat to high and then mash up all the meat into little tiny bits. After about a minute of mashing, I'll throw in 50 grams or 3 tablespoons of tomato paste, giving it a thorough mixing, and I'll continue smashing any large meaty chunks I spot. After about 2 to 4 minutes, as you can see, a little bit of fond has formed in the bottom of our pan. That stuff is flavor, so we want to make sure we're incorporating it. To do so, I'll pour in 250 grams or 1 cup of red wine. This is a Merlot here, and I'll also throw in 50 grams or a little more than 3 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. Mix all your ingredients together, and with a wooden spoon, scrape that fond off from the bottom of your pot. You'll continue cooking on high heat, stirring occasionally until about 80% of the liquid has cooked off. About 3 to 4 minutes later, the alcohol is completely gone, and we'll add in 25 grams of all-purpose flour and 6 grams of our minced rosemary. Now this is technically gluten-free flour because my girlfriend would murder me if I made her something she couldn't eat, but both work the same way. After about 1 to 2 minutes of continued high heat, as you can see, more fond has started to form in the bottom of our pan. We want to incorporate that flavor, so we'll next throw in 50 grams or 2 cups of beef stock, as well as 50 grams of better than bouillon beef base. This just makes the stock taste way better, and it's actually surprisingly easy to find at most grocery stores. I'll also throw in 20 to 30 cranks of black pepper, and I'll give it another mixing, scraping the bottom of the pot, incorporating that fond again. Now you're going to continue with high heat and cook off another 80 to 85% of the liquid. You want this to be kind of thick and gloopy and not wet and runny, which I know is a terrible way to describe the texture, but that's the best I could do right now. After about 3 to 5 minutes of continued high heat, you should get a consistency of something like this. Once you're here, cut the heat and throw in 15 grams of our chopped parsley, as well as 150 grams or 1 cup of frozen peas. Mix everything together and you are done. You have a beautiful pie filling that has maximum beefy flavor. All that's left to do is taste and adjust the salt levels. That's good. Oh yeah, we do need a healthy bit more of salt. That was like 2 strong pinches. Yeah. Oh yeah, we're there. It's beefy, and put this underneath our mashed potatoes and you have a beautiful meal. Now let's finish this recipe. In a 3x19 baking dish, pour in all of your delicious beef filling. Make sure to use a wooden spoon or a spatula to even out everything so you have a nice smooth layer. From there, throw down massive scoops of our mashed potatoes and then spread it out nice and evenly as well until you're left with a smooth layer. Now with a fork, you're gonna comb through the top layer just a little bit, giving it an extra bit of texture. I saw Gordon Ramsey do this when he made his version of shepherd's pie. Without doing this step, you'll miss out on a lot of texture and it won't look nearly as good. I'm also going to optionally grate some Parmesan cheese on top, but let's be real, this isn't really optional because Parmesan's delicious. Why would you not put it on top of it? But do be careful not to go overboard because it will mess with our potatoes browning if you put too much cheese. I'm also going to place a sheet tray underneath my baking dish in case the beef liquid overflows from the sides. This shouldn't happen if you cooked out most of the liquid in your pan earlier, but in case you didn't, this is to protect you from having to clean your oven. Speaking of ovens, I'm now gonna throw our shepherd's pie into my oven that's set to convection bake at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 minutes. After the 20 minutes are up, you're left with some light browning, but we want a little more. I'm gonna throw it back in the oven, this time on the top rack, setting my oven to broil for only 4 to 8 minutes. And please watch it carefully because the broiler can take it from perfectly charred to burnt in a matter of seconds. Once you're done broiling, you should be left with this, a beautifully crispy top that smells absolutely insane. Now you do have to wait 20 minutes before serving. If you serve it now, it'll be way too hot and beef juices will just spill all over the place. But after 20 minutes, I'm gonna grab myself a slice and carefully place it on my plate. I'll optionally throw on some extra Italian parsley and you're done. You have a beautiful shepherd's pie with a lightly crispy, buttery rosemary mashed potato and an insanely beefy, delicious beef filling. All that's left to do now is give it a taste. Oh my God, that is actually insane. I'm mind blown by this. The mashed potatoes and the beef pair perfectly with one another. This is insane. I'm not joking here. This is a must make. You absolutely have to make this. This tastes so good. My brain can't even comprehend it. I'm not gonna lie, I thought shepherd's pie was kind of like a basic, kind of not so great meal, just like a mushy mess, but this is insane. There's great texture in the mashed potatoes and the beef just has all this flavor. Oh my Lord. I literally can't comprehend this right now. You guys absolutely have to make this recipe. And there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see last week's video where we made a crispy miso butter chicken, link is right here. Thank you and have a wonderful rest of your day.